So hello guys once again and welcome back to my channel. If you can tell, it's dark here. It's almost midnight in France, Paris time. I am not feeling well. If you may have noticed, I'm not feeling well. But I had to do this. I have been trying to record for the past couple of days, but the weather has been messing up with me. I have been pushed. I have been working. I have been trying to ensure that I do not, become ill. It's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to the nitty-gritty. So, many of us are aware that Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie Fitch, has just been indicted, or has just been arrested rather, on federal charges of what did he call it again? Sex trafficking and prostitution. Guys, I want us to listen. Not all, just I want us to listen to the DA, Brian Peace, talk about this, and then we'll talk.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Peace, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. Thank you all for joining us today. With me today are James Dennehy, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's New York Field Office. We have Deputy Chief Carlos Ortiz, Commanding Officer of the NYPD Special Victims Unit. And we have my office's outstanding prosecution team, Aaron Reed, Megan Farrell, and Philip Pilmar. We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of 3 defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson, on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution. Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources and a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison. The message from today's prosecution is clear. Sexually exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account. As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world. Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons, in New York City, or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex acts, during the events could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in. Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things. Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, I want to thank the victims who have already come forward for sharing their stories. Prosecutions like this are really impossible without the bravery of victims who are willing to report what happened to them to law enforcement. With this office, the Department of Justice and its law enforcement partners will continue to work tirelessly to protect victims from powerful individuals who use their wealth and their influence to exploit and harm others for sexual gratification. In addition to my team, I'd like to give special thanks to FBI Special Agent Amanda Young and NYPD Detectives Paul Byrne and Antonio Pagan, who have worked hard on this investigation in the pursuit of justice.
Now, it's good to see you guys once again, and welcome back to my channel. Now, before we begin anything, if you're not yet subscribed up until now, what are you waiting for? It's free. Just hit that button. If you are still contemplating, say no more. Just there. It's free. We're not charging money. Just put your hand there and get on this family. And welcome to the new members of the household. So guys, you see, I will try as much as possible not to make this one long, because I will give you some other videos from this. We are going to delve down into this, the fact that, Mike Jeffries. And the thing is this, it's such a sad, this is sad. This is sad for victims. But at the same time, it is good news. You know why? You see, it now shows us that what people have been suspecting, those truths that seem like nobody is willing to listen to you, they have come to the light. I'm going to draw on our friend Cat Williams and what he said.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
All lies will be exposed in 2024. Cat called it. I'm going to repeat it again. Cat called it. Right? And in the mighty name of Jesus, many other people will go down. Now, from what we have gathered here, we gathered that Mike Jeffries exploited young men at the events he hosted around the world. Now, before all this happened, the BBC had actually conducted an investigation into this matter sometime in the past, for which Abercrombie and Fitch said that they were not aware and they were going to look into the matter. Well, my layman's language of look into the matter was to tamper or coerce the victims not to speak and probably pay them off so that they would keep quiet. That is what I understand by looking into the matter. Please, you guys, forget about how I look. I was just about to go to bed. I've taken my meds and I was just about to sleep and this thing hits. I said, it's not possible. I have to come and delve into this matter because it is important. Okay, good. All right. And so we now get to hear that this is something that he has been doing. When we look at all of this, right? And again, please, Mike Jeffries wasn't the only one that was arrested. He was arrested along with his former partner, Matthew Smith, and an alleged middleman known as James Jacobson, right? So they are being charged for one count of sex trafficking and 15 counts of interstate prostitution. Now, the whole charges are there. He's been charged for business conducted during sex events held in 6 countries, including England, France, and the USA. Stay tuned. I'm going to do another video on why France, in every time that there is any case of sex trafficking, child pornography or anything, France is always singled out. So stay tuned for another video on that. I'm going to explain and I'm going to give you the lowdown. Now, if you haven't been watching my videos on Giselle Pellico, please do so, because there are more videos I'm bringing out, and all this I'm going to link them up right in my take, in the segment of my take that I just started very recently. So if you haven't started watching those ones, begin to watch them, and then you're going to see how I'm going to tie this all up in the segment of my take. Okay, so you guys, now they are being charged with they employed this, as according to the charges, it was stated that they employed coercive, fraudulent, deceptive tactics in connection with the recruitment, hiring, and transportation. Though listening to the DA during the questioning, they tried to separate. They did not want to, well, I wouldn't say they tried to, they didn't want to give us more information on that. And I know it's for a lot of reasons. So it's normal that it's going to be kept on a hush hush, because again, this is, even though it says here that that with the connection of the recruitment, hiring, and transportation, then we will be pointing towards RICO. But I am assuming that since they are not pointing towards RICO yet, right? Let's put it a question mark. Since they are not pointing towards RICO yet, because it could come up, they decided to leave it as it is. Because if that's the case, then they are using Abercrombie and Fitch. I read a comment, somebody said abomination and Fitch, and it's so sticks. So if you hear me say abomination and Fitch, please, it's not credited to me. I'll find the name of the person and put it here. It's credited to that person because it just sticks, right? And so if that's the case, then they would want to separate what's going on for the moment, right? All right, good. And then we continue, and they talked about obtaining, maintaining, solicitation, and payment of the men to engage in commercial sex. Now, I said it in my previous video when I was talking about PDD, and I said the moment there is a payment in whatever form, the moment that money exchanges hands, then automatically there is a crime that has been committed. This is just what it is. And the crime must be committed in the course of what was happening or what happened. And we all know that in the case of prostitution rings, sex trafficking, human trafficking, and all whatnot, there is always an exchange of money. It always begins from the beginning to the middlemen to the end. In most cases, the victims never touch anything. The only people who touch anything or who take anything are only those who are in charge of all the arrangements. That's just how it works. Okay. Now, they also said that they had exclusive staff to facilitate and supervise the events. The events meaning sex events, right? Now, since BBC did the investigation prior, BBC is also saying that most of the or rather news outlets are saying that most of the allegations echo exactly what the BBC has said. Now, there's something I just want to talk about, and it says that they made the models, or these boys or these men, believe that they were led to believe that not complying with requests for sexual acts could harm their modeling careers. And you know why I'm picking this out? Because there are some idiots out there. There are some stupid people out there who would say, why didn't they say no? There are some foolish people out there that will point fingers at them and say they should have. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's irrelevant. What you need to understand is that when somebody of power when somebody of power is trying to get you to do something. That is always their go-to. If you don't, P. Diddy did it. And the thing is about it is that we have P. Diddy on tape saying things like that. When someone tells you, show how much you are willing or how far you are willing to go, right? Because you want something, because you want a rap career, because you want a modeling career, you want this and this and that and the third. Now, understand this, that most of these things are things that happen in the creative industry. And it is so prevalent because most of the people there know that many of the people who want to be in this industry, they are borderline. Let me put it this way. A predator will read you like a book. Let me rephrase that. A predator of this kind will smell your desperation. They read it like it's oozing out of your pores. They smell it. And I've tried to explain this thing before, and I'm not sure if I was able to explain it well. And I would keep trying until I get that explanation. When you understand that because you are on the receiving end, what you have to do in most cases is find how to protect yourself. Protecting yourself has to come with either somebody with you, right, as a moral compass. If you are an underage person, and again, I'm going to say this because it came up a lot in P. Diddy's case, and for the love of God, I do not understand how parents accept that their children, underaged kids, are left with a grown man unsupervised. I listened to a video where Chris Brown talked about being signed onto a record label. I can't remember which one. And he said to them, okay, let me call my mom, right? So that you can tell them exactly what you told me. And then they said, nah. Being a smart boy and understanding and knowing fully well that his mom, because it shows that he understands, or his mom understands, that he knows that no matter what, he is not supposed to be in close proximity alone with an adult. I told you guys a story about what happened to me with my son in France with a doctor, right? And it is the same, right? You have to have a form of protection. It takes working up to. I'll give you an example. Myself. There was this time when I had just gotten out of high school, and my cousin, I called him my cousin, we called him our cousin, came to the house. Now he came in the morning. My parents were not at home. My mom had gone to work. My dad had gone to work. I was the only one because I just finished. And I was just about to jump into the bathroom when he arrived. Now, I've talked about my sexual abuse story. And so I just had this funny feeling. And because of the previous incident, I had told myself, again, remember, I was all alone. So I already knew that whatever happened, I have to protect myself. I had already worked, I kind of spoken to myself. I said, this is what you should have done. This is what you should have done. Do not let this happen again. And so when he walks in, he asked for my parents, and I said, no, they're not around. And I expected him to leave. So I made a conscious effort to walk back into the house, into my bedroom. That instinct just told me to do that because, again, I was all alone. And something told me, walk back to the bedroom. Do not stay here. And I did that. As I made to move, he began to pull me back as I should come. And that was where I made to scream. At that moment, he let me go. And he says, Because as always, they come with, what's wrong with you? Why are you behaving like a small girl? I can't remember how many times I've heard that crap in my life growing up. I can't remember. And so in that moment where I pulled myself away and I ran to my room and I locked the door. Now I locked the door. The living room door was open and the one outside. So I was willing and ready to stay in there until I knew that no matter what, my neighbor would come. No matter what, I knew. It was just a matter of time if they would be around or they would notice that something was amiss. And I went there and I locked myself. He did not stay for 2 minutes. And then he left. He left and he did not lock, he just left. I did not get out of my room until I was sure that there was, I gave about 5-10 minutes. And then I came out of my room, unlocked the door, came out of my room, went to the door, locked the living room, locked the gate, locked the living room, shut, and I was watching him from behind. He was leaving, and I shut everywhere down. At this point, I told myself, no one was. I mean, it was important that everyone felt like I wasn't at home, that there was no one at home. I say this also because a lot of people get unalived in the same way. And all of a sudden you come into someone, they start alerting. It has happened just recently in France. A woman was unalived in her home. No one knew what happened. Exactly. So you need to think about a defense mechanism. Where I am all alone, what do I do? When I am not, who is the person around me that will be my moral compass? Because sometimes these people play this game. Oh my God. They play this game to the fullest, where they make you feel that if it is not this thing that they require of you, it's nothing at all. And then one of the most important things as victims we forget is when one door closes, another one will most definitely open. It doesn't say shut. Why? And for me, it is the truth. For me, it is what it is supposed to be. It does not shut. You know why? Because you did the right thing for yourself. You see, I keep telling people, God is not stupid, and he's not a fool. And for every wrongdoing, he knows how to ensure when karma hits. And when it hits, it falls from everywhere, every angle. It goes everywhere. It hits, and it hits badly, and it hits painfully. Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, P. Diddy, do we go on? Jeffrey Epstein. When it hits badly. It hits that when he comes for you, he doesn't leave any crumbs. He comes for the jugular. And people will ask how the mighty have fallen. No, they were not mighty at all. They were lily-livered little men or women. They're all small people who pride on their inflated egos to abuse and destroy people's lives. So they were nothing in the first place. I want to also use this opportunity, before I end this video, I want to use this opportunity to speak about our well-being for those of us who are affected by this. I actually came across a comment. I talked about the fact that after I did the first one, it just, I felt that pressure. And I came across this comment on TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, go there, find me. I'll put my whatever here. And she talked about, this girl, she says, listen, I'm going to need a therapist. I'm going to need a lawyer. She said she's going to need a lawyer to sue Didi for all the emotional turmoil and the things she's hearing. And I totally agree. But what I'm saying in essence is, reach out to us, please. That's all I'm saying. Just put a well-being note there, or check, just put something there. Because as much as, I would say, oh no, I want to talk about it because it's important. And it's not just for me, but for others as well, for other victims as well, to also know that they are not alone and that there are other people who have gone through this and they are thriving, right? And on this note, guys, do not fail. I would, watch this video, share this video, comment on this video, like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Again, like I said, stay tuned for the next one. And if you haven't been watching, right, if you've not watched the previous videos I did on Giselle Pellico, do well to do that. I have some other videos, similar. Do well to watch them, because in my segment of my take, you're going to hear from me. I'll see you guys pretty soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and good night, you all.